morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of PTCGRadio. So today, I'm going to show you a fairly ridiculous Eevee VMAX deck. And the reason it's a fairly ridiculous Eevee VMAX deck is because if you want to attack, you've got to flip 3 heads in a row. And if you don't flip 3 heads in a row, you're not getting an attack off. That is slightly ridiculous. Now, a little bit of background here. Remember, this Eevee VMAX was not actually released properly. It was released as a promo given to people who won a rock, paper, scissors competition that was held during the... Well, they had these little tournaments using the V decks. Remember that Eevee was in one of the V decks. And then if you won one of those tournaments, then you would get yourself an Eevee VMAX. Okay, nice. Eevee V has been confirmed as coming in a tin over in the US, Europe, UK, etc. No word on the VMAX as of yet. But this one is fun. Now, Eevee V is fine. I mean, we've got an English scan, which is quite nice. 1 colourless energy, draw 3 cards. It's not bad, especially in the early game if you've got nothing else going on. But then 3 colourless energy, 80 damage. But if you played a supporter from your hand this turn, you get to do 160. And 160 is fine. It's not a particularly great attack, let's be clear. But it's not terrible. It's alright. It gets decent damage down. What we really want here is the VMAX. 3 colourless energy, 150 damage. During your opponent's next turn, if the defending Pokemon tries to attack, they flip a coin. If tails, nothing happens. So your opponent, if they want to attack Eevee after you've used, and it is the amazingly named G-Max Cuddle, they've got to flip a coin in order to do so. And that's essentially it, right? That is essentially what you're trying to do. You are trying to do 150 every turn, and that's not one-hit KOing much. You're one-hit KO single-prize Pokemon. You're not hitting anything for weakness. But essentially what you're doing here is just trying to make sure your opponent can't attack. So maybe you are 2 or even 3-hit KOing. But the theory here is that your opponent isn't really able to do much anyway, so you're good. Remember, it is the defending Pokemon, so if your opponent switches or retreats, they will be able to attack, and after a KO, they will be able to attack. Although they've then got to do 300 damage right now in order to actually go and attack you. That's not that likely. But I said you needed to flip 3 heads in order to attack, and that is where Mareep comes in. You see, Mareep's got a rather lovely ability, whereby if it's in the active, you may put your opponent's active Pokemon to sleep. Okay, there's a second coin flip. Where's the third coin flip? That, ladies and gentlemen, is where Slumbering Forest comes in. Slumbering Forest is a lovely stadium card that says if the Pokemon is asleep, you got to flip 2 coins, and they've both got to be heads in order to wake up from the aforementioned sleep. And this is where we put it all together. Your opponent is going to be asleep. They've got to flip 2 heads in order to wake up. And even if they flip double heads and wake up, they've then got to flip heads to go through the previous effect of Eevee VMAX's attack. Can you see how this is getting really, really difficult to actually get rolling here? We're in a situation where you've literally got to flip 3 heads in a row in order to actually get an attack off. That means you're looking at somewhere in the region of 1 in 8 turns actually being able to attack. And you're not going to win that way. Now, the reality is you are going to get some attacks off. You're going to get some attacks off after a KO. And that's basically it, if I'm honest with you. When Eevee takes a KO, the incoming Pokemon can attack. But if we look at the big Pokemon in the format at the moment, they're not getting attacks. And Eternatus VMAX really limits itself at 270 damage. That's not getting an attack. Or it's not getting a KO anyway. Something like a Zacian's doing 230. That's not getting a KO. Pikachu and Zekrom's doing a maximum 200. That's not getting a KO. And that's kind of my point here. Even when the opponent gets an attack off, they're not getting a KO. Now, something like Center Scorch can get a KO, but then the problem with that is that they've got to pile loads of energy on, and then they've got to do that for the next time an Eevee takes a KO, etc. And that's how Eevee wins. Now, in terms of other Pokemon, we do actually see a couple of Volcanion, and these are here both as non-GX attackers, or non-V attackers nowadays, and also energy acceleration. Go second, turn 1, single energy, attach free fire from your deck to your Pokemon in any way that you like. An Eevee VMAX attacks for free energy, so that will cover you very nicely indeed. That'll work. We then do see a single copy of Blacephalon. Now, partly this is there because it's got that big attack that lets you lost zone fire energy and do loads of damage. Partly it's there for 1 energy burn and confusion in an emergency. But really it's there because we don't have a GX attack we want to use. And Burst GX for a single energy discards one of your prize cards. If it's an energy, you get to attach it, lovely, but really you just discard it, so you've got 1 fewer prize cards you need to take in order to win the game. So, essentially, anytime you get down to 1 prize card remaining, Blacephalon, energy, win the game. That's why you play Blacephalon. Outside of that, we've got 1 Dedenne GX for a bit of consistency, 1 Eldegoss GX, or Eldegoss V, for a little bit of consistency, and 1 Crobat V for a little bit of consistency. They are the free consistency Pokemon round at the moment, and apparently, we're playing 1 of each. Now, in terms of energy, we are going for a bunch of fire energy here. I've already mentioned how you can accelerate with Volcanion, but it's probably not a surprise to you here that we're playing Welder as well. Eevee is a free energy attack. So that's Welder for 2 energy, attach a third from hand, boom, Eevee is attacking. Or you can Welder onto a Volcanion and hit for 110 damage, as long as there are 2 other fire energy on the field elsewhere. Point is, fire energy good. But we're also playing a full 4 copies of Triple Acceleration Energy here. This is free colourless energy when attached to an evolved Pokemon, though it falls off at the end of your turn. And the deal here is very simple. 1 energy, Eevee's attacking. No, you don't get to keep the energy. Yes, you'd rather have fire energy that doesn't fall off at the end of the turn, blah, blah, blah. This is essentially what we've got to try and make sure that we've got an option to go single card, boom, off we go. Now, in terms of trainer cards, I'm afraid outside of the aforementioned Slumbering Forest, which we need to have for Mareep, it's very straightforward. We've got 4 copies of Quick Ball to search out your basic Pokemon. That's everything but the VMAX. We've got Pokemon Communication to search out Pokemon, well, whether they're basic or not. We've got a bunch of Switch here to make sure we've got the right Pokemon in the active at all times, which is probably to be expected. We've got Fiery Flint to search your energy out of your deck. And then we've got Fire Crystal to grab your energy from the discard pile. We've got Air Balloon, which will give you free retreat if you've got a retreat cost of 2 or less. And as a fun little side note, both Eevee, VMAX, and everything in your deck does, right? There's nothing in your deck with a retreat cost of 3 or more. So this will give everyone free retreat. And you might think that's quite a lot of switching. It is worth pointing out that we're playing Birdkeeper here as well. It switches while drawing 3 cards. But you need to get your Mareep in and out the active so that you're putting your opponent to sleep. So you need a lot of switching cards. Plus there's getting the Volcanion in and out turn 1 and Eevee VMAX and all of that. So switching becomes pretty important. We got a copy of a reset stamp, puts your opponent down to a new hand equal to their remaining prizes. That's fairly standard, honestly. Every deck plays a reset stamp. It should be expected. The aforementioned Welder to accelerate energy. And then we've got a bit of Professor's Research and a bit of Marnie. They are the 2 best draw cards in the game. Sycamore, or Professor's Research as it is nowadays, discard your hand, draw 7 cards. Marnie forces both players to shuffle their hand, put them on their bottom of their deck, and then you get 5, your opponent gets 4. Decent draw and a bit of disruption. And then we got Boss's Orders, which will drag one of your opponent's bench Pokemon into the active. I adore this deck. And I know we got questions. I know that Eevee VMAX is not really available here yet. and we're not entirely sure, as far as I'm aware, how it's going to be made available, which does present a slight problem. And I know that by the time it does become available, Mareep will have rotated, but we've always got the option for expanded, so I don't think it's the end of the world. And it's such a cool, such a weird, such a fun, such an original deck. I just had to show it to you. It's upsetting that Mareep is the only thing that is rotating out, but it is a fairly large part of the deck. But I'm sure we can find a workaround. For now, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to show you this really cool Eevee deck, and now I have, so now I'm happy. But for now, I'd just like to know what you think about it, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.